Rode's new Wireless Pro is fantastic, but when it comes to timecode, it's raised a couple of questions. So I figured, why not start with the TLDR version? Let's talk about it. Let's start out by discussing the two ways you're most likely to use timecode with Rode's new Wireless Pro. Setting up the Rode wireless receiver in timecode mode 5 allows you to use it as a master timecode clock and jam sync other timecode compatible devices. Now, it's also important to note that the Rode RX outputs an audio level signal timecode signal. And that's very different than a line level signal, which you'll find in a lot of timecode generating devices. This just means that many devices will require you to adjust the output gain on the receiver until they can actually read the timecode signal. While you can jam sync devices, you need to ensure that your device has an accurate timecode clock in order to avoid drift. Well, what about cameras that don't support timecode? Of course, you can plug the receiver into the 3.5mm audio jack and record timecode that way, which is how I expect that this device is primarily intended to be used, with or without timecode. This is probably going to be one of the most common use cases for the Rode Wireless. And it's just a simple variation of some sort of piece to camera, just like I'm doing right now.
I am running so I can be that crazy mom.
I also expect that you'll see these used quite a bit in these situations. Standard corporate shoot in a conference room with awful acoustics. Good portion of the budget probably should go to sound blankets. Another sizable portion of the budget should go to antidepressants. On a more serious note, these type of devices actually work out really, really great on these type of corporate shoots. I use the Wireless Go 2s all the time. And actually one of the features I'm excited about on the Pro unit now is the fact that I can enable remote recording. From the Rode receiver, I can look down, I can see whether or not the device, the transmitter is recording. And if it's not, with the push of a button, I can enable remote recording. How awesome is that? God, I can literally feel my soul dying in here. Now, according to Rode, these have a battery life of around 7 hours of continuous use. I wouldn't push my luck if I was you. Being that the battery is built in, you can't just swap it when they start to get low. You gotta charge the unit itself. And believe me, when it matters most, that's when batteries die. And that's not a knock on Rode, that's just kind of how it works. So understand what it takes to keep these charged throughout the day. If you have a shoot where you can charge in between things, do that. Otherwise, if you're doing a long event, you might want to consider a different option. If your primary use case is actually doing something like weddings or small mini docks, I'm going to say that this system's probably not for you. You're better off getting small PDRs like the Zoom F2s or the Tascam DR10L. Simple device, long battery life, plus the fact that they have replaceable batteries means you can swap in a fresh set of batteries anytime during the day. There's no easy way to say this, so I'm just gonna tell you straight. If you're an iPhone user, you're gonna need, it's must. You're gonna must have the Rode cable that they ship in the kit if you're gonna hook this up to your iPhone. I know that official Apple cable that you've purchased in the fancy white box, the beautiful USB-C to Lightning cable from the official Apple store. Yeah, that doesn't work. Not at all. So if you're anything like me, you might want to order 20 or 30 of these, just so you have a spare. All right, so going to take a quick tour and dive into how we can take the files we've captured on the Wireless Pro and the transmitter. So in this case, I've got the case plugged in. I only have the one transmitter plugged in since I'm using the other pair to do this video. The receiver's on the camera, transmitter's here. But so inside of Rode Central here, I can click on the transmitter. Now I've renamed mine to TX01, and to rename it, you can just double click in here. You can name it whatever you want. Right, so I could say, 0A for camera A. I just do 01. And I'll talk about that rename here in just a second. But now what I want to do, this is another thing I've noticed. I get these mounting errors every now and then. So let me try to plug it back in. I don't know if it's just a Mac OS thing or a bug. All right, select the device, see if it's gonna, there it goes. All right, you can see that it mounts up on the desktop as Wireless Pro, which is interesting because I've renamed it to TX01. It would be nice if when it mounts up there, that it would have the same name. Because if you have both of them in here, you're gonna get two basically hard drives that mount on here, and they're both gonna be named Wireless Pro. So if I look, you can see I've got a number of recordings on here. I'm going to export all of these as just 24-bit. You only need 32-bit when you're dealing with significant amount of range in audio. So from very quiet to very loud, you know, maybe you're at a racing event or a shuttle launch, right? In which case, you know, chances are your mic that you're recording with, if it doesn't have the range, it's going to clip out anyway. But for most dialogue, you really only need 24-bit. So that's what I'm going to export. Now, one thing I have noticed with this as well, so let's say I just take recording this one here. And there's a thing here, I should be able to edit the name, right? So I'm gonna say TX01 Rec 0001, right? So I've renamed this now, and maybe they fixed this with the latest bug update, which it looks like it did. It renamed the file. But an option that would be nice to have, and hopefully Rode is watching this, I need to be able to do that for all of the files on here, right? So very much, you know, in a workflow, you know, if I'm using a field recorder or something of that nature, or even on, you know, the cameras, you typically have a file name pattern that you put in place, you know, for cam A, cam B, audio, same thing. And so rather than going through and renaming these all individually, it'd be nice if I could template out what the name should be for the export. Because otherwise, and I'll show you here, if I just go ahead, I'm just going to select all of these, export them all. We'll come down to my little traveler drive, to Wireless Pro, open. And so when I export all of these, you can see it's like Rec 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then of course the one that I've renamed, which is nice. But the fact that they've got these default names to them, unless I go rename each one of them, if I'm gonna, you know, have both of these, right? So I've got this other device. If I had both of these in the dock and I'm trying to export all of them, the file names are exactly the same between the two units. It'll be Rec 1 and Rec 1, Rec 2 and Rec 2, right? And so being able to templatize the names would help a little bit. All right, so looks like this is all moved over, so that's good. Export complete, so piece of cake. Now, all of these files that we just exported, they're going to have timecode metadata on them already, which is nice. So when I bring them into something like DaVinci Resolve that supports timecode, that timecode information is already on the audio file. Dump the video in here. Now, like I said, because of the way we were set up and you're using the transmitter or the receiver to output timecode as an audio signal, the file itself, like on an FX3, has timecode that it writes to the metadata on the file, but that timecode is not going to be the same as what the Rode transmitter was out, or the Rode receiver was outputting as timecode in an audio signal, and therefore we're going to have to fix this up in post. So I'm going to bring up DaVinci Resolve. You can see now I've got all the files up here. I'm just going to take all of these, Command A, and drag these down into the project. Go ahead and change. Now, what I'm showing you is DaVinci Resolve, and today, Final Cut Pro 10 and Adobe Premiere do not support what I'm about to show you, which is updating the video timecode from the audio track. It is a feature that's supported in DaVinci Resolve. If I had to bet, I would say that now that Rode, specifically, that Rode has introduced timecode into these devices, and given their popularity, especially among YouTubers and small content creators and just content creators in general, I would bet that we'll see an update for Final Cut and for Adobe to implement the same feature that's available here in DaVinci Resolve. All right, and so what feature am I talking about? It's right here. So what I want to do, I'm going to add some headers here, which is my ending timecode and start timecode. bring this over here. All right. Let's go. So you can see this time code on the file, this time code here. They look fairly similar. It might have been because I jammed them. Let me do this. Let me right click and I'm going to say update time code from audio track. So now it's going to pull from the audio track, and now this is lined up with the time code that's in the audio file that I'd captured. In fact, I can just select all of these, right click, say auto sync audio based on time code. DaVinci Resolve will go through and you can see now that it says, oh, this audio file here, this synced audio can be aligned with this video clip. And the nice thing about that is if I come in here and we go look at the clip attributes and I go look at audio, I can now see that I've got a mono audio track, which is what I want. It's linked channel 1, audio 1, meaning it's a linked channel instead of the embedded 1 or 2, right? Because the embedded channel 2 is time code, which is something you definitely don't want to have blasting into your ear. So you definitely want to be careful with that. But linked channel 1 is the audio. Say OK, which means if I play this, all right, here we go. Nice and synced up audio. Easy peasy. This will be our test clip for doing audio-based or doing, yeah. Now, one other thing to wrap up this small segment, whenever you have this case plugged in, either to your laptop or to charging, definitely leave it unzipped and open. This thing tends to get a little toasty. I noticed the other day when I had it closed, plugged into the laptop. Anyway, pretty easy to get everything synced in. And with that, let's do a wrap up. That's going to wrap up my look at the Rode Wireless Pro system. And I have to say, right now, I think that this is the best value in this class of wireless systems. Rode has done a phenomenal job. The kit comes with a charging case, all the accessories, 2 lav mics, 32-bit float, onboard recording, time code, and so much more. It's truly a great value. So the question you might be asking yourself is, if you own the Rode Wireless Go 2, is this worth the upgrade? And for me, as someone who's owned various Rode systems over the years, I say this is probably the best upgrade they've ever offered. Hands down. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you found this video useful or somewhat entertaining. Let me know in the comments below, are you gonna now pull the trigger and purchase the Wireless Pro? Are you convinced that it's the right system for you? And if you've got some hesitations, let me know what those are. Maybe we can dive into those as well. All right. Till next time, yeah, do whatever it is you do. Be a good human. Later. Visual continuity? Yeah, I don't know what that is.